Hi, I'm Tim Bender, CEO of the indie strategy publisher Hooded Horse, here to present Against the Storm by Eremite Games.
So Tim, what is Against the Storm?
Against the Storm is a roguelite city builder. So it's basically, if you ever played a city builder, enjoyed the first couple of hours and thought, you know what, this is the most interesting part, planning out my initial city, confronting the initial challenges, this one lets you do that. You play a city for a couple hours, and then you move on with your roguelite meta progression, and you build a new city.
Like you mentioned, this is a different type of city builder, a roguelite city builder. What separates this from other city sim builders out there? Go into a little more detail about it.
Absolutely. So city builder fans basically break into two groups. So one group wants to build a city forever and make it the most perfect and beautiful city that ever did exist. And that's a very important group, and they have a lot of games that work perfectly for them. Another group of city builder fans finds the first couple of hours the most interesting. They want to see a new challenge, they want to plan out that city, they want to achieve their objectives, and then they feel like maybe it's time to move on. And this is the game that delivers what that group of players needs. It delivers the opportunity to build a city and to move on with roguelite meta progression to your next city and keep confronting new challenges.
I like the design of it too. It's more of a fantasy world where a lot of city builders are super realistic or super futuristic or steampunky. This is a classic fantasy game.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This one is we would call it a dark fantasy game. So apocalyptic rains come and destroy cities, which is part of the justification for the roguelite mechanics. You have many different races. You have harpies, you have beavers, you have lizards, you have humans, and they all have their own abilities. And thanks to the latest community poll, because the game's in early access, the community voted for the 5th species to be added, and that's going to be foxes.
What does early access open up you either from a financial standpoint or a creative standpoint as a publisher?
Early access has been absolutely wonderful for our game. So as an indie strategy game publisher, 4 out of the 5 games that we released in 2022 released into early access. And they have been doing absolutely wonderful. And in fact, many players are completely willing to try out interesting new strategy games in early access. And most importantly, it means a lot of community involvement and a lot of advice for the developers, a lot of feedback that lets them make a better game.
Is there any pressure when a game sells a lot of copies and becomes really popular in early access for the developers or even the publisher at that point to meet expectations or roll out DLC and updates quickly as fast as they can?
Yeah, absolutely. There is, early access games require a lot of commitment on the part of developers. And it's both in terms of content, and Against the Storm, for example, has an every 2 weeks release schedule. And if you open up the game on the main menu, you'll have a reading of what the next update is, when it's coming and what's coming. And that kind of development, that regularity is very important. And I think it also requires a commitment on the part of the developers to listen to the community and to hear what they're saying. Not always do what they're asking for, because sometimes it doesn't work, but listen to what they're saying and figure out a way to address whatever thing it is that they're getting at when they ask for something.
How easy is it for a gamer who's never played a city sim or feels intimidated by that genre to get into your city sim builder?
So this one is, I think Against the Storm is one that you can definitely get right into, and it's a lot different than a lot of city builders. So in fact, sometimes players of RTS games, some of the classic RTSs from our childhood, the Warcraft and they might find that this is a game that they really love to get into, even if they don't always have to be people who love the traditional city builders. So I think we found it have quite a wide market in terms of who's interested in trying it out.
So you guys have a 2-week release schedule. You just mentioned you're adding a new race to the game. What does that open up for players who are playing right now?
Well, they're going to get that new race. Of course, all early access updates, they're always free. There's no attempt to monetize or do DLC or anything like that during early access, because the players are supporting the development. So they're all going to get the new race to play with, and it's going to be a fun one. The Fox people, basically, they're going to have their own abilities, their own unique strengths, and I think it's going to go great.
Now, I know it sounds silly for me to ask this, but I feel like controller is a big option now for city sim builders. Do you have any plans for controller support moving down the line?
It's definitely something that's going to be looked at for actually across our games, because in the end, controller support is a step towards console support. And though we do PC first, consoles are something out there that is something we definitely want to get to. So controller support is a big priority.
So your game's in early access now on Steam. Where can people go to find more information? Discord, Facebook, website?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in Against the Storm, you can find not only the game, but all the links to their social media sites of the developer if you search for Against the Storm on Steam. If you're interested in us as a publisher, which of course publishers are less interesting than developers, but you can find that by searching for Hooded Horse. And if you search on Steam, you can find our Steam Hooded Horse publisher page where all our games are listed.